Okay, and I might as well just tweet this real quick as well. Live VOD review starting now. Okay. Hopefully some people will tune in and ask questions, because oftentimes their questions help me explain things better, or even notice things that I don't notice. So this is the VOD review for Gunspawn, support player, seen here, who found my stream and has been getting in touch, and I apologize for not getting to this VOD review sooner. I had some medical things, and then with the last week of TESPA and the LAN event this weekend got kind of delayed. But now with TESPA season over for now, I've got some time to get back to some of these reviews, and really excited to get this done. So I've already watched the VOD once before without note taking, just to kind of get a sense. And now I'm just going to watch it again. We'll pause, slow down, rewind as necessary. A primer I know is that this is not a team scrim. This is on ladder. And often the way that you play on ladder is necessarily different than the way you would play in a team environment, just because of the lack of communication that you typically have, the lack of reliability. So there's definitely like some different styles of play between ladder and team. But let's see what we got here. Go ahead and skip forward to the start of this. Actually, I just want to pause it on the comp here again. So we're going to be running Widow Genji, not Dive, which would have been more likely. Ryan Zarya, Widow Genji, Ana-Lucia. Okay. So looking for good use of your mobility enhancing passive and your amps to get the Ryan and Zarya into positions. Let's see here. So Ryan misplayed that, and so now we're forced to wait. So this is good. Good stuff coming back to spawn to get your Rhine. I like that. Hey Drinky, welcome Rose. I can't tell you how many Lucios I've seen that like don't
And purple, nice.
speed. So that was really good play here from the team. We land the fat anti. It's a good amp on the Rhine who was low.
And purple, nice.
Now we switch to speed. Yeah, so speed in and be calling out like your speed in here because you guys are up. So now you can call the targets as Lucio. Lucio's a really good position to shot call from because your team is predicated upon so much of your movement.
And purple, nice.
So you can call targets and then call speed into Aaron. So like here the fight is won, but still call it out like speed into Ryan or Roadhog. And there's no need to be on healing there.
Well,
that was really good follow up on the anti-nade from the team.
Genji maybe
At choke points like this, on Hanamura, like the way that you are going to be using your speed boost is like super important because the reason why a lot of teams around this ELO fail to push Hanamura point A is that they don't do anything once they're here. They're like, doesn't matter what the comp is, but especially like Rein Zarya comps I see, is they just get to this choke and then they decide to just sit there and soak damage. They don't make a play, and if you're just gonna sit here and soak damage, that's bad news for everyone. So one of the things that you can do as Lucio is utilize your amp and your speed to call out directions or targets to get your team out of this choke, especially on ladder, where you kind of have to be more forceful. I mean, if you're in a team setting, your team should kind of know this already.
Purple, nice.
But using that advantage to get your team through there, because this point opens up once you're through. So good attack, good capitalization on the anti-nade from your Ana.
Let's go straight main, don't waste time.
We've got our Zarya calming. Straight
Genji
main.
maybe combo the ultis.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a good
let's go,
pick.
let's go.
Yeah, you want to go now, because you killed the Zen.
Okay, go, 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 go.
They're not going to have trans, we've got Nano.
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course, baby!
You can even make a play to boop the
Of
Rhine.
course,
It's not essential, but like, so this is something that you can start to work on if you want to like improve your play with some combos. So say, I know our Rhine doesn't, but say he had Shatter right there. And there was some team behind him on point. So this type of play, where you kind of can come in hot on the left, like that's a play that you can call out for your Rhine, and you boop the Rhine out of the way as he shatters.
Of course, baby!
Something a lot of Lucios, I think, can learn how to do is use the boop to set up opportunities for your team. It's more difficult to pull off than the Brig Bash, which is brainless. It's kind of like Doomfist. Are starting to do this too, where they do like an uppercut into a shatter. But don't forget about the opportunities that you can combo boop with. It's not just about booping players off of the map. You can make big plays for ultimate synergies with your boop. Let's see what happens here.
Of course, baby!
I think you held on to speed there too long.
Of course, baby!
Before your ultimate, please.
Like,
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course, baby!
when you're in this situation, your speed boost isn't giving your team a ton of value anyway. Because everyone's just kind of stacked and brawling, and with Ryan and Zarya just kind of spamming, like, your speed boost isn't giving your players like a ton of maneuverability, so that you're like forcing a Widow to miss shots that she should be hitting. You just have a Ryan kind of swinging at you. So I would be staying on heals this entire time. I want to see where you amped this last. So you
Okay,
amped the
go,
speed
go, go,
boost.
go.
Okay, there we go.
Tell me before your ultimate, please.
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course, baby!
So yeah, that swap. So there's another swap. So the speed is fine if you're going to use it to get out there, because your
Okay,
team
back,
is
back,
dead.
back, back, back.
Yeah, okay, here we go. But earlier there was a delayed swap, and I think that's something that I noticed, my first time through this, is that you do the kind of like crossfade swapping, but that can be useful when you're going up against a team that requires like more precise aim, because you kind of give your team that extra speed, that maneuverability that's going to force them to miss shots. But when it's brawly,
Okay, group
you
up
need,
and
like when your
do it.
Ryans
Wait
are
for,
just swinging at each other, you just gotta stay
Wait
on
for
heels.
Reinhardt, they are all stacked mid. So be ready, Genji.
And you should always be calling out when you amp, whether you're amping speed or amp heals. The way that I like to do it is amp on, like your nearest hero.
Back.
So like if you were gonna amp heals there, you were amping on your Rhine, for example, or amping on Zarya. So that way everyone knows where you are and where they need to be if they need an amp heal. So try and make it a habit to call out every amp. It's important for healing because it makes your team aware of where you are and where they need to go.
Okay, group
Super
up
important for
and
speed
do it. Wait for
because that's how you're moving your
wait for
team
Reinhardt.
into
They
targets
are all
or into
stacked mid.
locations.
So be ready, Genji. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Now
go.
here's something.
Of course, baby.
Ultimate, please.
I'm gonna go back and time it from the last
Genji
time I
maybe
see you do
combo
this.
the ultis.
Have
Okay, let's go, let's go. Okay, go, 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 go.
Tell me before your ultimate, please.
Yeah, of course, of course. Of course, baby.
So haven't even done it since we capped the last point.
Okay, back,
Done
back,
what,
back.
you might be asking? Well, I will explain in a second. Okay, so, but before I explain that, you should be speeding your Rhine back here.
Okay, group up and
And part of that has to be like your team not taking damage when they don't need to be. And part of that has to be you just saying, I'm going to speed back Rhine,
Do
so
it.
your team
Wait for
knows
the-
that the healing's not going to be there to bail
wait
them
for
out.
Reinhardt. They are all stacked
But you
mid.
speed your Rhine back,
So be ready, Genji.
and you get this engage faster.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
So we lose Widow, okay, so we're going to combo. And they trans. Now we're down 2, down 3. So we're down 3. This beat is not a good beat. It doesn't get your Ana. It just gets your Zarya. You and your Zarya. But the fight is lost.
Yeah, so
And that's something that you
Okay,
can
3,
recognize from your
2,
position.
1.
So you can see that a Widow
Go.
got picked, right? Now you have the full like point of view here. You can see everything that's happening. We see them trans. You see your Rhine drop right in front of you. We've already committed 2 ultimates. You see your Ana is out of line of sight, not being able to do anything. About to die to Tracer, and then we saw our Genji die. So we have to recognize much earlier that this fight is lost. And when a fight is lost, we need to flip that switch in our brain that says no more ults, and tell our team no more ults. Because it's just, these are really powerful abilities by design. And we're much better off by not pressing Q and trying again on the next push than by, you know, trying to make a bigger play that doesn't get to have a chance of succeeding.
yeah, so he forced us to do nothing.
So that's something you can call out, not just learn for yourself, but when you realize that a fight
We
is
cannot
lost,
combo with this.
you can communicate that to your team.
Yeah,
Adds a lot of value when you remind people to
I think we have to
not ult, because panic ulting is like a very common
take
thing
an
in
ender
this
first
yellow.
or something
Yeah, probably.
to force him.
Good early pick on Tracer. So, but here's, so you're not pressing tab nearly enough. That's the point that I was trying to make before. Like, that's why I was rewinding it. When we, like, from before we capped point A until now, we still have yet to press tab. And pressing tab gives us lots of info that we need. It gives us the ult charges of everyone on our team, what ults we have, what ults we don't have, and it also tracks the enemy team's player swaps. And being able to know if they swap off of a hero, like they didn't start on that Tracer, I don't think, and then they swapped to Tracer. And recognizing and calling out to your Ana, oh hey, there's a Tracer. You know, that's a nice heads up for her that she might have a flanker coming after her. So being able to check those and communicate those is really important thing for anyone, but especially supports to do. Especially supports who are going to be in a shot caller type role are communicating that. And then also you want to be taking a look at your ult charge of your team, you know, on a pretty frequent basis, so that you know what ults your team is planning on using. Like in a ladder setting, like if you have ults, you just check to see what they're going to be using. In a team scrim setting, then you can help participate in the planning of like, okay, well we have 4 ultimates, but let's only use these 2 to open the fight with. And then that way we don't like do what we did on the last fight and commit ultimates that we didn't need into a lost fight. So being in charge of keeping track of your team's ults and giving reminders to your team like, hey, we've got these 2 ults, or hey, we've got these 2 ults. Let's look for those. So there we go. There was our first check-in. So now we see what they're running. So now we've got Nano Rhine. It's a decent combo. We're pretty low on everything else. So we're gonna open up with that. Can be on speed there. Yep. Call your speed here into a target. You got to tell your team you're speeding in, amping in, call target. Here I think this was too risky of a play. Your Rhine kind of botched the shatter. So this is like what I was talking about on the last Hey Stream Police, how are you doing? So like we just on the last push we were talking about how you can make plays with your speed boost and your boop. This is something that you can call out to your Rhine here because you know that your Rhine was planning to shatter because you checked the ults. Speed in and be like, hey, I'm gonna boop the Rhine for you. So that way he doesn't just shatter his shield. And I see you going for the Ana there, but that's not really your job here. Your job is not to have your back turned to your team, killing the Ana. I mean, if you're on it with your Rhine, like if you're trying to speed your Rhine into the Ana, or you've called Ana as the focus target and there are other people on her, then that's one thing. But you know that they have Tracer Genji. And so your primary job here has to be peeling for your Ana, so that she doesn't get killed like that. Booping the Genji and the Tracer away, giving heals to your Ana. Like, where's your Ana when she dies here? I think she stays like here. So if that's the case, then you need to be playing this like middle ground here, where you're getting your circle onto your tanks on the front line, but you can see when their flankers are making a play at your Ana, which they do. But when we do stuff like this and we chase this Ana, so now look, our Rhine is out of our range here. Our Ana was already dead back there. And so we've given up our ability to support our team for that moment. And if it was a coordinated thing, like it's okay, we're speeding onto the Ana, then that's one thing, because then you know that your Ana knows that everyone's going in, and you've got more than just yourself on the Ana if that's a coordinated like call. But in this type of situation, play that in mid ground. People tend to think that it's like only tanks that can peel for squishies, but squishies peel for squishies and should peel for squishies. And that's part of the strength of Ana-Lucia comp, is that Ana, like, she can be vulnerable in the backline, but as Lucio, you can protect her with boops and with speed boosts to move her away if someone's chasing her. But you can usually do so while keeping a good radius on the rest of your team by playing that kind of middle ground. But your team follows back with some big kills here. Start the fight over here. We're down Ana, and they've nano bladed, which is not a good look. But then we get 2. harassing the Ana appears to have non-intuitively helped us out. It's not the recommended play, but it did prevent her from getting out some heals that she needed to here. The more recommended play would have been if everyone would have sped onto her with you.
Chase.
No, I was 100%.
I don't like that charge from our Rhine.
We can do this, boys.
But you guys scrap it out. Ana gets back. It's just a general lack of target focus from pretty much everyone in the game, which is what happens in ladder. So,
Lucio.
if you guys can just win those trades. It's a fine beat. You prevent some damage.
Damn it.
But I don't think that you needed the beat to survive. Exactly. You were out of range and Zarya had bubbled. Saving beat here, because we know that we're just trading ults here. Save beat for maybe a counter support ult.
Damn it.
But I'm not going to be too picky about that beat. But what you can do better on this is be that communicator that like pulls your team together onto targets. Because your entire team is benefiting if you're killing the same target, and if your entire team, particularly your front line, is killing the same target, then they're getting support from you.
Let's regrouping.
Okay, brig swap. Probably smart. Your team is still ulting though, which...
I mean... Lucio.
Do this, boys.
Let's see how much they're challenging the point when you die.
Lucio.
Okay, there, you called the Lucio target, that's good. Good kill on Ana. Down our Genji. So right here is like when you have to look, okay, they're all alive now. Our Genji's at spawn, you just died. Now is a time where you just like take what you guys got. Like look at this. So we got 1 on point for us. They have 4 on point. We've got Nano, Bob, Grav coming up for the next fight, and we're down 2. Now's a time where you have to, like when you die and you hit tab, well your team is like tunnel visioning because they're fighting this scrap on point. Here's where you make a call. Right, okay, just disengage.
Damn it.
Either disengage or normal ults. But then I think that we invest some more ults.
Let's regrouping.
Or did I hear the other Rhine invest ults? I may have misheard it. Okay, good. It was their Rhine. There, that's what I was worried about. Why? So, no Grav. And you can help communicate that. Like, hey, we're dead, don't Grav. Yeah, he knew that he messed up. Yep, there it is. I fucked up. He knew it. But just the comms there from your position as a support are essential. Because you generally have a better like field of view than your frontliners. You can see what's happening more. You can see more ultimates and track more ultimates that way. And then especially like when you die and you recognize like, oh hey, 4 on point, take a look at the clock because this is good. So when you hit that tab back there, you can see that they were all alive, and then you could also take a look at this and it tells you the point presence. And those two things The combination that they have 4 on point, 6 alive, and you have 2 dead. That's like easy call for no more ults. Fight over. So now here's a moment where you're looking and prepping. Okay, we've got Bob, Nano, close-ish on Shatter. Start formulating a plan, right? Calling out to your team, okay, let's Nano Bob to start, and then we'll do a Bash Shatter after that. So as a Brigitte, like this is something that you really want to pay attention to, is this combo, because it's just so good. At least for now. We'll see how much the Bash nerf actually does. But to be like, hey Ryan, let me know when you're about to shatter, okay? And then that way you can be in a position to bash their Ryan and give him a clean shatter. Reminding him, and again this is ladder play, but reminding him like, hey, like, just let me know when you're gonna shatter. That can, like, you'd be surprised how many games you will actually end up winning just by like communicating this type of reminder. Oh, remind me when you ult. Ryan's like, okay, I'm gonna shatter, and then you're like, all right, bash, go, and then you team wipe them with an earth shatter, and then you don't waste any more time trying to cap a point, you know. But you should definitely be
Let's go.
communicating to your team about these things, about the plan for ults. But now you should also be reminding your team what ultimates that they used here. So let's start the fight over, and let's count how many ults that we see
probably.
from the enemy team, and how many can we see from your perspective. Because you should be able to communicate these to your team during the, like, in between the next fight, before the next fight, so that they're aware. So there's their blade, right? So we know they bladed, they nanoed, they shattered. You should be calling this out mid-game too. As you see this happen. Like, here's how I would call. Alright, they're blading. They nanoed Genji. They shattered. Amping on Rhine. You kind of missed your Zarya there. Be careful that, like, you don't want to just use this amp. Like, when you start this amp, you're not on the people that need healing. So move to them and then amp on Zarya, or amp on Genji. Because they're the ones, and then you actually turn back, and so I don't think that either one of them gets, like, a single heal during the amp. So double check your radius on who you need to be amping. Because if Zarya was full health there, that might have been survivable.
Oh, I was 100%. You can do this, boys.
Lucio.
Could call onto the Lucio. They pulsed.
Nine.
Yeah, I would have waited on that beat actually until there was more of a damage threat.
Damn it.
They transed. They used 5 ults. Blade, Nano,
Let's regrouping.
Shatter, Pulse, Trans, in that order. So now you know, coming into this next fight, okay, so they may be close on Blade again. Like, they're going to have partials on there. They're not going to have Pulse. They're not going to have Zen. That's valuable information for your team. And so what ults didn't they use? They
I
didn't
fucked up.
use beat.
Kejsergruppen
They were
var sikker.
running a Lucio there at the end.
Kejsergruppen var sikker.
I think they just swapped onto the Lucio at the
I
end
fucked
though,
up.
so they're not going to have.
Kejsergruppen var sikker.
Like, let's see. So they have the Lucio, but I'm just curious when they got on to that Lucio. Or were they always running the triple support?
Lucio.
Not that it matters though. But that's valuable intel that you can communicate to your team about ult usage. To start, like, because it's a new skill, right, to be able to practice these things, but a super valuable skill to have as a support player. But you can build. You don't have to try and do all of these things at once. You don't have to try and track each ultimate and call that out for your team. You don't need to like make all the plans all the time for this. Just work on like steps, small steps that you can take to like begin building this type of skill set. So for example, when you're first learning to like track and communicate enemy ults, just work on support ults, right? Because you're a support player. So you have a general idea like how fast you build your ultimates on these heroes. And so like as a function of time and healing. So you should have a pretty good idea like how long it takes them to build their ults. Like you can tell if they did a bunch of healing relative to you, they might have more ult charge than you, or less if it's the other way around. So just begin by tracking support ultimates, and try to communicate their support ultimates to your team. Like, oh, I think they're halfway on beat, or they just used nano, so 0% on nano, or I think they're going to have nano for this fight. Practice communicating those, and then you'll be getting real-time feedback in your match. If they don't have that, or you were too early on your call, or like you thought they were low and they ult, that gives you feedback and it helps you hone in on your ult tracking. And then once you like feel comfortable in your ability to track your enemy support ults, well then you can maybe like incorporate tracking a tank ult. So keep it small to start because it's no one's expecting you to have like pro level ult tracking skills. Just start small, start with the support ultimates, and then you can at the same time you can start by like just checking the ults and then like calling out a plan for your team. Be like, hey, we should nano bob this fight, or hey, we should grab dragon this fight. Just look at what you got and then call out a plan for your team. Even if the plan doesn't go well or your team elects to do something else, then that's fine. But when you get into your team setting, that's the type of thing that's going to be valuable. And you'd be surprised like on ladder, like how often those like small reminders of like, oh yeah, we can synergize ultimates, or oh yeah, we lost the fight, so maybe we shouldn't ult anymore. Those small reminders can make like huge differences in ladder play. But start small. Just start with 2 ult combos for your team, and then just start by tracking support ults and communicating that to your team.
I fucked up.
Kejsergruppen var sikker.
Yeah, we need to regroup.
Yeah, I like the brig swap for this point. And then also, like, they swapped here. So they swapped off the Lucio to Ashe. So now we know, okay, so they used trans, they used pulse, they swapped off Lucio, and they used these ults last fight. So this is like pretty much a one fight if you're tracking these ults, because you know that you're going to have a nano bob into a quick shatter. But that's, you gotta, so tell your team like, oh hey, they're Ashe now, no Lucio. Communicate changes to your team. That's something you can incorporate there.
Let's go.
So I'm just going to type these out real quick just so it's clear. So first thing to work on is track enemy supports. Second thing is going to be plan 2 ultimate combos for your team to start a fight. And even if they don't do it, then whatever. It's about the process of practicing that. Then 3. And then like the big one is calm these. So it's not enough to distract, but calm them.
Top, let's try top.
Wait me.
I misspelled support. Cool. Now I get to coach some brig play. Favorite thing. I kid. The brig is super important in this meta. Like for better or for worse. This isn't the place. Your Rhine should not have charged. Oh, but you save his ass, dude. You bailed your Rhine out hard.
Let's go.
Nice work. So this is like something you can set up. So I see your Ashe is kind of doing it. Be like, hey, we'll push in top right and send Bob to point. Because then they have to deal with two threats, right? They've got the Bob on point that is contesting and shooting them. And then if at the same time you're going to make a play at the top right, then they have to deal with something happening in front of them and something happening behind them. And they have to make a decision of what to do, especially the Rhine. Like, am I going to shield the front or am I going to shield the back? And when you force the enemy team to make a choice, you increase the chance that they're going to make the wrong choice or a punishable choice. Good shield there. Good isolation onto the Ana. Good focus on the Ana. And then your Rhine charges. You sail him out with, or you bail him out with a pack. And then that kill on Ashe. So really good work keeping up with your Rhine when he made that charge. Good bash onto the Genji.
Nice.
Nice. Clean. And yeah, that fight, we could tell like that fight was going to be pretty much a one fight because we knew what our ultimates were coming in, and if we were tracking, we could see that they had nothing to really defend that with. But that was a really good play by the team, intentional or not, to kind of pinch them off that high ground. Okay, let's skip forward. So let me just type out some Lucio notes real quick, just to like give some pointers. So call amps every time. Call speed amps onto targets or locations. And what Cavi does this is like maybe sometimes you ask your team to wait for your amp. And then also call who you're amping on for heals. So call like, oh, amping on Rhine, and that lets your team know that you're amping heals on your Reinhardt. It lets them know where you are, where to come if they need heals, and lets them know that you used your amp cooldown, because it's a powerful cooldown. And then for your amps, like double check to make sure your circle radius. So as Lucio, like when you see people going critical and you see them red, like you're like, oh shit, I need to heal, so I'm gonna amp. But if they're not within your radius at the time of the amp, they're gonna be missing out, and we saw that on that one push on attack. So try, like, you want them to be in the radius when you're amping. You know, if they're in it the full time, they get the max heals. So double check your circle radius and don't just amp because you see someone that's low on your team. You need to make sure that they're within range and low on your team before they're going to get value out of that amp. Super weird positioning. Good job, ladder play. Yeah, that's like a point where you got to be like, okay, speed your team back. And when you call speeding, that doesn't have to necessarily mean you're amping. You know, you could just be on speed and say speeding back with the passive boost. And we waited too long on our swap to heals here. Like, there was, yeah, we should have swapped to heals long before then.
Overwatch.
Ryan misplayed it and he was discorded and was in a position to take too much damage. But we have to do our best sometimes to make up for things like that. That's a big anti.
Overwatch. Is that anyone?
Holy shit.
But it's not your job to kill him there. Especially without your Ryan. Your Ryan is your, like, you know, he's swinging his hammer to help keep damage off of you here. He's down. So we get a fat purple, but your Zarya and your Ashe, you deal with this. Like,
Overwatch. Is that anyone?
you speed in.
Holy shit.
Did you get...
Overrun.
I'm trying to... How did you get so much damage? There was Zen.
Is that anyone?
Holy shit. Overrun.
And then just a lot of the damage coming in from choke. So yeah, you exposed yourself there, and you didn't need to. You're down already one, and we just went down two. Your Zarya probably doesn't have a bubble for you. When you move up there, you're out of line of sight of your Ana, even if you were to like get that, because your Ana's back here. So there's no... Oh, my pen isn't working. Your Ana's out of line of sight, so that was definitely a high-risk play with a low chance of success. But it was tempting. I can see how tempting it was, because it's like, oh my god, the Rhine is won. If I kill this Rhine, I make up for our lost Rhine. And that, like, mindset, that's a solo queue mindset. Something I work with my team is getting out of what BK says is like, that's a high risk, high reward play, right? Because you are putting yourself out of line of sight of your healers without your main tank, and you're putting yourself in the midst of the enemy team to get a kill on Rhine. High risk, high reward, arguably, if you kill that Rhine and make it 5-5, but it's too high risk for the reward. And the way that we always want to be trying to play is trying to preserve the reward by lowering the risk at the same time. So we want to do low risk plays that try their best to maintain as much of the reward of the high risk play as possible. And you'll see that as you watch higher and higher level play.
Okay.
Is
We stabilize.
the pros, the reason they're so good is not because they make individual high risk, high reward plays, although at times they are capable, and on occasion fights will call for that type of thing. But 99% of the time, they're making low risk plays that have good payoff. They're always lowering their risk.
Holy shit.
Our Doom gets caught in a really bad spot there.
No.
This is one of those other situations where I would almost just keep it on healing the entire time. Because most of this is brawl damage that's just happening here. It's like, you're not...
Holy shit.
The speed that you add to your team is not increasing maneuverability or speed to the point where they're actually going to be avoiding a lot of incoming damage. It's in a very small contained area with a Roadhog that's point blank and Rhine swinging hammers. And so just the consistent passive healing is a lot more valuable. Unless like you were up one and then you're like, oh, Rhine's low, you're going to speed into the Rhine where you're going to have like everyone speeding in with you real quick. But if this is just going to be like sit and brawl at the choke, just keep it on heals. I can see there's like a little interplay there where it may have been okay. That is an absolutely massive anti-nade.
91, 91, 91.
Oh no, Urian, what is Urian doing, bro? What happened to him? He got booped by something. Okay, it wasn't his fault.
Okay, let's get back. No point. Go back. Go back. Don't risk it.
Okay, I'm glad Zarya called a lost fight there. But now is the time where we should be checking. Like, right? Or sharing what ults they used. Let's go back here. Yeah, it was the flail stream, you're right. I saw that. I thought he just got out of the way at first, and then I saw the boop. But I thought that his shield was angled in such a way that it was going to avoid the flail, or block the flail. So they use trans, okay. Call that out as it happens. Hey, they trans. Simple call out. Yeah, this was the one. But look, yeah, that's a really weird flail, because I thought his shield was up. Right? Oh no, I fucked it up. Like, it looks like that shield is angled in such a way that it would. But I guess it got through. Maybe he, like, mistakenly dropped shield, like, a frame before that happened. Pardon me. So you call that out as it happened. They shattered. They trans, they shattered. They rallied. They Roadhog ulted. So they used 4 ultimates to cap that point. Share that with your team.
Okay, let's get back. No point. Go back. Go back. Don't risk it.
And it's actually really good that they used 4 ults, because the biggest reason why teams will lose to CP is the ult rollover. So you know, coming in they're going to have maybe Grav and Beat. Grav and Beat coming in.
Doomfist, can you go Reaper instead for the...
So you can see how just calling out ultimates already helps you, like, learn to ult track a little bit. Like, if you call out the ults as you see them, and then you hit tab and you're like, oh, okay, so I just saw them use these 4 ults. And if they all built ult and used them, then they probably are going to have these 2 ults. And that didn't even require tracking, like, damage output or healing. That's just, like, paying attention to what happened and literally just communicating facts. And then you can communicate to your team, like, oh, they're going to have Grav and Beat.
Yeah.
A play that you can make. Ooh, that was a really good anti. Your Ana's hitting some big anti-nades.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good place for you to be calling out your speed. Like, as soon as you see the Rhine drop, okay, now you can be aggressive. Take your team with you forward. Call out this speed. Speed into them. Speed into them. Pick a target. Speed into Zarya. Zarya. Brig. Speed into Brig. There we go.
Okay, back. That was it. Back.
Hold.
You have to let Hog go there. I know you're trying to save your Doomfist. but it's better for you to be alive and back on point with Beat than it is for you to try and save a Doomfist who's making a mistake.
Okay, back.
So someone made the call to get back.
Hold.
But the same guy who made the call to get back.
That was it. Back.
Hold.
Oh, you called the hog. No. The call was made to get back this hog, because you gotta respect the respawns. You know Ryan died first. Hog's got this massive self-heal and he's dancing health packs. Doofus is low. You have to leave him there and get back.
That was it. Back.
Hold.
Like right here, you should just go. Go back there, right there. Don't go this way. It's much more valuable to not die and not get a kill than it is to not get a kill and then die.
Guys, we lost 2 people.
Unlockers.
Careful, don't overlook it now.
Fortunately, they're not able to really capitalize on it too quickly. But going back, so yeah, that when we were able to get aggressive there, you need to communicate that. And then there was one other thing I just wanted to point out, small thing, but just like small tricks to incorporate into your play. But if they're coming main bridge here, this is a really good point for you to make cheeky boops that'll just like knock them off here. Because if you knock a player down there, they either have to come up to point to get back, or have to take this long route back through the tunnel, or go out the right. So if you boop someone off here while they're going main, you open up a big opportunity for your team to take an odd man against them. So you can boop them and then speed on to a target with an odd man advantage. So that's just something to do on that particular point, a small cheat thing that you can do as Lucio. Make that boop call and then call your team
back,
onto a target
back,
if it gives you an advantage.
Hold.
Let's go to the next fight. The counter beat. I'm not sure if the counter beat was necessary, because you weren't really facing, like, I could see how you got tempted because they were beating, but your team is in decent shape here. Your Ryan is nanoed and healed, your Doomfist has ult to survive, and you don't really have, like, a ton of worrisome incoming damage. Yes, they beat it and are going to start being more aggressive, but you don't need to beat that early until something gets, like, hairy. Because you also should know that there's Arya's grab.
Brick one.
Maybe she was just really slow at building it and didn't have it, but... So call out the ultimates again. Sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record on that. So call out, they beat it.
Brick one.
And call out the Roadhog ult.
We have real aggro Reina, so I should stick with him more.
They're still running good.
We mogen niet pakken.
And especially against Goat's composition. They're not running a pure Goats. But Goats, like especially when you are playing in your team setting, you know, you'll see a team running Goats, and what do Goats want to do? They want to play as a unit, speed on to targets with aggression. But the death of a Goats comp is separation. So you can use boops from here as they come in to separate the Goats comp and give your team an instant advantage.
We mogen niet pakken.
They transed, and they weren't able to follow up on this grab. Hang on, I'm just gonna watch this from the start again.
They're still running good.
We mohl hodně špatný.
They're on monkey. Interesting. So you got to be identifying here isolated targets.
No, já jsem si vůbec našel ty prchy, ty
Super brawly. Just kind of a chaotic fight. You got kind of turned around. Your goal as a support player in that type of setting is just to not get turned around. Like, you can look obviously, but just like don't get confused, because there's like kind of a lot of focus everywhere. But at least try and be calling targets or focusing on one for your team, just for your team's sake, so they can, like, you know, you have to help be the shepherd for your team as main support. Shepherd your team into the right,
Let's go.
into the right plays. Wow, did you guys actually pull this off?
Let's go.
Oh, your Doomfist pops off. They used Monkey Ult, they used Rally. Quick callouts, just make that a habit.
Kill the brick, kill the brick.
Good call out. Okay, break, break, break. Yell at your team, dude. Kill that brig. Just get in that habit. Make those call outs.
Brick, 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 please.
Okay, good. Finally got the brig.
Nice, please stabilize, stabilize.
Yeah, nice one.
Now check your team's ults. Make a plan.
But Zara is fully charged.
We can boop shatter.
Fully charged.
Wow, we've got a lot of ult coming into that. Nice. Not only did they use a bunch of ults and fail to cap point, but now we have a lot of ults going into the next fight.
Tak co tam finish ty naše sady?
That's a really good peel right there.
I didn't-
Props for that. So their Rhine was being stupid. You got to be calling it out like right away. Rhine out of position. Punish Rhine. Punish Rhine. But this is a really good peel. You put yourself in between, and you put that Rhine back away from Uzari, who almost died. Doomfist blows ult. Maybe, I think you probably just use it to escape. Okay, but now you're advantage. Now this is a time where you can be calling for a speed forward. You can already see that your tanks are making that play, but... And then I recall from when I watched this video through the first time, I'm not a fan of this beat. Because we're not getting a ton of value. They just grabbed the Rhine. But I think that we had sufficient heals on him between Lucio, Ana, and Zarya bubbles to help him survive. I don't think that if like in a team setting, I don't think our Rhine dies there. Maybe in ladder if we're not paying attention. But I saved the beat there because of like how low, like how useless that grab was for them.
Rijn, one.
Nice, we built a fat grab. That was a fast grab.
No more ults.
Push.
No more ults.
Nice, dude. That you called it, dude. Look at that.
Huge. No more
Look at this. Gunspun calling out no more ults. Yes, love it.
ults.
Holy shit.
Nice one, guys.
Oh, they
Nice.
blew monkey ult.
Oh boys.
You got halfway to beat again. I would have, but yeah, I still think you save that beat when you know that there's going to be more damage for your team to worry about. You know that in that situation that you weren't really at risk, especially if you like knew that you had grab and all these ults coming in behind you, right? Because we know from the last fight that they're not going to have a lot compared to us. We're rolling with like pretty much all of our ults. So it's a very like non-risky grab what they threw at Orion. We can save beat there for when we expect more damage follow-up to more people. Beat is like a trans but better. And I wouldn't have trans that either.
Zarya low.
Yep, now you guys can be aggressive.
Rein,
Get back up there, dude. Get back up there. Damn it. Speed. So call speeds. Call speeds. There we go. You're calling it. You're calling it, dude. We space jam? No, so we way over ulted that.
And back up.
Easy clap.
Back up team, back up.
We don't need fucking Death Blossom, Meteor, and Graph on the same one. I mean, I guess it doesn't. I mean, it's not too big a deal though. Nice. So this was pretty heads up though. Good boop, and then you try and body block him here from the point. So that's smart. Brig. Kill Brig. Oh, it's gonna be one of those. Nice.
GG's.
Nice.
Work team, GG.
Wow, you guys got scrappy on that defense. Built a lot of ults really quickly. Alright, so a lot of very workable things that are things that you can easily start taking into your team play or your ladder play. Let's just bullet point these again in one nice slide for you. So let me get a better background so that it shows up better. Yeah, we'll just do it here in green. That'll show up. So step one is that we're going to begin building ult tracking by starting with support ults. So that means between every fight, estimate enemy support ults and share with team. The next one is going to be calling out enemy ultimates as they are used. Like when you see an ult used, just call it out. They grabbed, they bladed, and that's going to help you learn how to ult track with greater precision and communicate valuable things to your team. Start each fight by communicating a soft plan of 2 ultimates. So just check what you guys have and you can communicate. So if this is like a team setting, obviously that's going to be a little bit easier, but even on ladder, just like get in the rhythm of starting to open fights with 2 ultimates. Be like, hey, let's use Nano Bob. Let's use Nano Blade. And if you just say like, hey, let's start with Nano Blade, it gives your team a plan on what to play around and helps your team not to overcommit ultimates. Recognize when fights are lost and tell team no when sorry, I'm going to restart this. So recognize when fights are over and communicate no more ults. So I know that you have the ability to do this because you did that in the last fight, right? You saw that the fight was won, you made the call for no more ultimates. The harder point is going to be recognizing when fights are lost and not to commit more ultimates. Like the one panic beat we had on the attack. Very important and more valuable even. Like it hurts you more if you commit ults when a fight is already lost than if you do when fight's already won. Obviously, you don't want to overcommit ultimates anyway, but it's extremely important not to commit ults when a fight is lost. You want the other team to overcommit ults when they've won a fight, so that when you come into the next fight, you have that advantage rolling. And the next thing is going to be our calling. So remember, as Lucio, or support in general, you add a lot of value as a caller due to your field of vision. So you can see a lot of things that often your frontliners or flankers can't see. That's why it's important for you to call out ults when you see them happen. But you have like a really, really powerful position to call enemy locations or call targets, focus targets. You know, think of yourself as a shepherd. Shepherd your team. Shepherd your team into the right place. So like you were trying to do at the end, like you were shepherding your team onto that brig. So think of yourself as a support, not just as like a healer, but as the person responsible for getting your team into the right place and focusing their attention on the right target. And so that includes like calling speeds in and out. Especially like when we got that early pick onto Rhine, like that's something we can call like speed into this target, speed into that target. And then also we're going to call every amp, whether you're speeding or healing. So if it's a speed amp, generally it's going to be onto a target or like onto a location. Like if you're amping up main on attack. So make sure you call every amp and that you call either you're amping onto a target or into a certain space. And then for heal amp, on your friendly target or space. Like this wasn't a payload map, but like if you're on Junkertown pushing payload, you know, you could say amping on payload, so everyone kind of knows. But call out every amp that you use. It's such an important cooldown. It has a longer cooldown than a lot of people realize. So it's really important to call those out. And this is a higher level skill, but consider plays that can be made with boop. And this is often geography dependent. So just we were looking at a Hanamura VOD here, but opening up an opportunity for your team to speed onto a vulnerable target by booping someone off the bridge, right? Like there's that one time where you were in a position, but then on a couple pushes you were very far back, and which is good, it's safe, but they're gonna come on fast, so that like is gonna close out real quick. But if you can kind of like start behind one of those forward pillars, and if you boop a target, even if you're not going to be aggressive after that, like even if they're still going to come hot onto the point, what you've done is you've made their engagement weaker because now they have to wait for their sixth player to come up. And then you can consider like at a hot, like this is being your team or scrim setting, but you can consider opportunities that you can be made with boop, with ult synergies. You know, booping a Rhine out of the way of a Diva bomb, or booping Rhine out of the way so your Rhine can shatter. It's a powerful ability, and know points, like know your maps well enough to like understand when your boop can add value thanks to geography, like Hanamura, or like Rialto First Bridge, or like the more obvious ones. And then we're always going to be double checking our radius on the heal amp. There were times where we kind of don't just amp because people are low. Make sure they're getting value out of it. Like there was a couple times where we would start an amp because we noticed that a member of our team was critical, but we started that amp before they were within our radius. And on that one point, or that one moment, like way back here, we amped, and there were 2 people who were low, and they never even came into the radius. So double check the radius. And those are, like, for this point in time. Those are kind of my, I spelled
Nice
shepherd
working,
wrong, sorry. I think it's with an A, not an E. Like 90% sure. So obviously there are other things to look at and practice. It's definitely like different watching ladder play than watching scrim play, because the level of communication is different and the level of team play is different. But these are things that you can practice in both that will add value to both. I'm gonna pause it right here. And then I want to pause. Let's go back here where we can see more things. That's not too bad of a background. That one's pretty bad, actually. Okay, there we go. So these are things that you can begin putting into practice, you know, block by block. And it doesn't take a lot. You know, most of this is just conscious effort to call out amps, or to, oh, and also, sorry, I missed one. I'm going to add one more. This one's going to be really big for some reason. Call enemy hero swaps. You know, use your tab to your advantage. Like if you see they swapped off Lucio to Ashe, communicate that. Oh no. Okay, well, I can just go back and screenshot that. But all of those things are accidentally deleted the whole screen. All of those things are little things that you can incorporate, like at any level of play, whether it's your ladder play, whether it's quick play, whether it's your team environment. The key is to just, when you go into a match, it doesn't matter what the match is, try and do those things. You can even start by like doing some QP matches and introducing one of those elements at a time. So go into a QP match or even a comp match and just be like, okay, what am I going to do in this match that I want to get better at? So for this match, I'm just going to be really good at looking at those support ultimates. Or for this match, I'm going to really focus on making sure that I amp every speed boost. Or this match, my goal is going to be making sure that no one is out of my amp, like when they need that heal, or that I'm never going to like miss a call on my amp. And these things are really things that you should be doing at every single moment that you're playing. And it's going to be like amazing. Like you can pick these up quick, and in 2 weeks you'll like get the rhythm of it, because all these things have rhythm. Like when you're in fight, you're calling amps, and then in between fights you're doing the ult things, and then you're engaging in the fight, calling the amps and targets again. So there's a rhythm that you can follow and kind of get into your brain's memory. And then I think that I would like to see, like after you've worked on these types of things, see like a team scrim environment and see how you incorporate these skills into the team environment. And don't overwhelm yourself. Like these can kind of be a lot of things at once. My goal is, like when I was typing those out, is not like you don't have to do all of those things immediately on the next game. You know, pick a pointer or two and just do a match and try and incorporate those. And then once you feel like comfortable there, then you can maybe add the next one. You know, this is a process. It doesn't have to be like 0 to 100. Build this up as like a step ladder. And that way it'll be easier for your brain to learn the new things, because habits are difficult to change. There's I forget some psychological theory. I learned it once in grad school, but talks about how it literally takes your brain multiple weeks to adjust to a habit. that until those multiple weeks are up, everything that you're doing that you want to change is like gonna take a like huge conscious effort to do. That's why people struggle so hard with New Year's resolutions, for example, because like they make the New Year's resolution like, oh yeah, starting 2019, I'm gonna go to the gym every day. But it's like hard to make the conscious effort to like wake up at 7 a.m. before work and be like, I'm going to the gym. And you have to do that like for the entire month of January, sometimes longer, before your brain will start to recognize the pattern of habit. And then it becomes a lot easier. So break these things up and practice them consciously. If you're trying to add too many things and you find that like you're calling your amps is you know, you're not really good at that because you're doing something else, you're focused too much on something else, that's fine. Just take one of those blocks out. Feel really, really comfortable with these things before you build up and expand to all of those things on that list. It's going to be a good way to do it. And then after you've practiced that for a couple weeks, I'd love to see another VOD where you do this in the team or scrim environment. And I'd love to see how you incorporate these with your team, and how you can like add value to your team, and you can see that immediate value for your team, just by, you know, these simple points that I had up here. So I'm gonna, after I end the stream, I'm going to pause the stream where I had those written because I accidentally deleted them because I'm an idiot, and then I'll send that to you as well as the link, gun spawn. And for everyone watching in chat, I hope that I pointed out some valuable things, learned some things. I'm going to end this stream just to clear the video, but I'll be right back on stream. I'm going to be doing some Overwatch gameplay now that the VOD review is over, but I just got to end the video. So I will be back in approximately 10 minutes. And thank you everyone for watching, and I hope this is a helpful place for you to start Gunspawn. I really enjoyed watching your video, and I look forward to your feedback.